Episode 75 is here, and while there is a reason to celebrate, I prefer not to indulge in any form of celebration just yet. Maybe when I hit the 750th episode, or when Strombo contacts me. Okay, that is not going to happen, but realistically, it's not too horrible. I'm pleased, and that's all it matters. Our civilization here on this planet is only one of many that have come and gone. This planet has been colonized many times by people from elsewhere, and our present human race are blood brothers of these people. Those were the words from Wilbur Smith, the Canadian UFO investigator and founder of Project Magnet. Well, this kind of makes sense. It is what you might say that Smith's statement is in line with the least resistance hypothesis, something easy to explain to yourself. Yes, why would anyone come here? Whatever strange is going on, it has been here forever, I guess. Or not, if you ask Zachariah Stitchin or Eric von Daniken. But again, let's not go there. I'm not going to Daniken. No. So, Frank Drake, the inventor of Drake's equation, famously said that his greatest bet would be on raccoons if the human species become extinct. Because, they have working hands, hunting packs, and are intelligent omnivores, and they just need to figure out how to light a fire now. People are saying that we should be polite to AI so that it doesn't exterminate humans, but I am encouraging you to start thinking about our fave trash pandas instead. Indeed, bears and coons have a common ancestor. I'm not sure about AI, but Toronto will become the global capital if raccoons take over. But what about the past? Did we actually turn up later in the race? Was anyone else here before us? Some say yes, but I have to quote Tick again. Is that really the case? According to a recent discovery by an international team that includes Penn State researchers, the discovery of a hypothetical super-Earth less than 20 light years away from our planet is giving scientists a new hope in their quest for other worlds that might host life. They named the exoplanet GJ251c a super-Earth, since it is around 4 times the size of Earth and it is most likely rocky. Great news, but I don't believe it's from there. Not because I know so, just because that would be too much. And no, coons did not come from GJ251c. Did anyone from there or elsewhere? Well, I launched my podcast with an episode titled UFOs in Canada in January, not March. I repeat, January of 2024. Today, Of course, I'm a little embarrassed about the production quality, but hey, it was a start, so no biggie, eh? I was captivated with UFOs as a child, and given recent developments in the field, this will be the 4th time I look into the subject. Is it? No. Is it 4th or the 3rd time? I think, yeah. Anyways, if you want to know more, look into episode 1, 49, and 71. Yes, we had books back then as well as radio, but still, radio, yeah, it was my preferred form of amusement. All those radio dramas and scary news. But anyways, that was then and this is now. According to Ramones, or Didi Ramon to be specific, the UFO landed in Idaho and did not appear to come from Japan. I'm not going back to Japan. I was there the last episode. When was it? Yeah. Nor I'm going to analyze what Didi Ramon had in mind when he wrote it, but he was born barely a year before the Washington, D.C. sightings at Fort Lee military base, which housed the now defunct Washington Air Defense Sector, or 4,060 25th Air Defense Wing. I believe that's the right number. The Washington Air Defense Sector and its successor, the Western Air Defense Sector, or WAS, as established institutions are not, I repeat, they are not directly or officially associated with any UFO or UAP phenomena activities. However, WADS participates in broad airspace defense and surveillance as part of NORAD and the greater U.S. air defense system. This involved monitoring and responding to anomalous aviation occurrences detected in U.S. airspace. So, returning to DD and Idaho, it appears that the mention in the song is based on true facts. But which one was it? The present UFO era begins in the northwest around Idaho. Ken Tharnell, the pilot and salesperson from Boise, reported witnessing 9 flying discs over Mount Rainier, Washington in June of 1947, and this encounter gave origin to the name Flying Saucer. Idaho soon experienced a surge in sightings of its own that summer, including the July 1947 Twin Falls saucer hoax. During the nationwide UFO craze, residents discovered a reported flying disc which the FBI and Army eventually revealed had been built by local teens. That was me 40 plus years ago. Well, Ben Hansen and Melissa Tittle, who appeared on the Discovery Channel UFO Witness in 2025, investigated a stunning fireball UFO seen blazing above rural Idaho, supported by local testimonials and video footage. And don't forget about Lake Pend orbs, and multiple witnesses reported bright, calm orb-like UFOs hanging over the lake with detailed description of white-yellow lights that appear to fall and vanish near treetops and water levels, as well as craters of the moon sightings. Several people in southern Idaho near the volcanic national monument observed strange moving lights and mysterious aerial formations, generating speculation on whether they were satellites or unidentified aerial phenomena, as they call them today, UAPs. Yeah, I'm not gonna go there. For me, that's still UFO. So, from early sightings pre-1947 to the current age up to 1969 and the dismantling of the Blue Book, we are most likely living in the most critical time in the history of what is often known as flying saucers or the green/gray man obsession. I also believe that if we do not press for things to come out now, they will go away. With that said, and in light of recent events, I continue to believe that whatever is going on will never surpass the anxious joy of watching the encounters of the third kind when you're 8 years old, have never heard of the Ellsworth Air Force Base incident in South Dakota in August, and your future wife is not even 6 months old. As I have said, I'm obsessed with time. I would drive my family insane in the movies with questions like, what would be character's age if he wasn't playing a 20-year-old in the movie? And then what would be his age with the short hair? Obsessions like that, but never mind, just a confession before I go. So what if? Raison d'être for me, believe it or not. It was only recently I have discovered that French ufologist Jacques Vallée was the idea for Claude Lacombe's character in the film Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Bon, alors, ne me juge pas, non? I am relieved. The Psi Factor is no longer running. Yes, I am. It was a bad show. I'm sorry. Even Mulder and Scully would be at loss for where to go now that so-called secrets appear to be disappearing out of thin air. The truth will not be revealed by Simon Riley in a nuclear bunker on the other side of the earth, or by some strange plotline in Stranger Things. Because life is stranger than fiction, and I'm not sure what the solution will be, but I have a feeling it'll be something hidden in plain sight, something we never expected. So many various theories concerning the beginnings. Exodimensional, exotemporal, DMT-ish, or whatnot. Considering everything, if this period, the last quarter of 2025, isn't good time to write about UFOs again, I don't know when is. From Project Sign in 1948 to Project Grudge in 1949, and eventually to the truly intriguing Project Blue Book from 1952 to 1969, this is something else. Honestly, personally, I believe the first significant event occurred above Washington, D.C. in 1952. If I were to write a history of UFOs, I would begin there, owing to the massive presence that was undeniable. I'm also curious at how little coverage the event received actually. It is Worth noting that the Shirley's Bay Observatory in Ottawa was built the same year as part of Project Magnet, Canada's first official UFO study project. Now, I'm not referring to Project Magnet, a massive geomagnetic survey operation that began in the United States Navy Hydrographic Office and was later renamed the United States Naval Oceanographic Office, or NAVOCEANO, to support global magnetic modeling and charting. No. Magnet was a Canadian government initiative established in December 1950 by Transport Canada, and it became operational in October of 1952, just 3 months after Washington, D.C. sightings in July of that year. It appears that there has not been a UFO craze since the 1970s, and I am curious as to why. Betty and Barnes Hill abduction, also known as the Zeta Reticuli incident, occurred in 1961, and the UK has its own occurrence, the Rendlesham Forest incident, which occurred in the 1980s and is commonly referred to as Britain's Roswell. Well, the new era of UFOs began in December of 2017 with an article in the New York Times revealing the existence of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP, which investigated UFO signals and resulted in the public release of several videos showing unidentified objects observed by U.S. Navy pilots. FLIR, Gimbal, and FASR, what's that? Revealed UAP's peculiar flight characteristics, perplexing military and civilian scientists alike. It is the year when the European Union commemorates the 60th anniversary of the Treaties of Rome. Germany legalizes same-sex marriages. Prince Harry proposed to Meghan Markle. Oh yeah, that's very important. Wonder Woman is huge. And there was a terrorist tragedy at Ariana Grande's Manchester concert and an attack on London Bridge. Remember that the same year, in January, Donald Trump was inaugurated as the 45th President of the United States. It was the same year that the U.S. launched massive strikes in Syria. On April 7, 2017, the United States launched 59 Tomahawk cruise missiles from the Mediterranean Sea, striking the Shayrat Air Base, which was the site of a chemical assault on Khan Shaykhun a few days earlier. Despite warnings, Russia and Belarus continued with their actions. Zapad 2017 military drills were held from September 14 to 20th. This was the year when relations with North Korea deteriorated. Violent protests erupted in Venezuela, and Emmanuel Macron defeated Marine Le Pen in May. It was also the year in which the October vote for Catalonia's independence sparked a political crisis and clashes within Spain. There was the Istanbul nightclub attack on New Year's Day, the Manchester bombing, the Barcelona incident, and the October massacre in Las Vegas, which was the deadliest mass shooting by an individual in U.S. history. There were explosions in both Somalia and Egypt. Hurricanes Irma and Maria devastated the Caribbean and Southeast United States, causing wildfires in Arizona and a significant earthquake in Mexico. There was the Me Too movement, the Women's March, and most crucially, the Cassini probe completed its 13-year mission by crashing into Saturn. Fun part is that the only thing that I remember from 2017 was the AC/DC concert on Downsview Airfield way before I worked there in August with the original crew and Brian Johnson as a singer. Best $80 I have ever spent. So, certainly that year, 2017, was eventful, but I was strangely deaf and oblivious to anything other than work hard, play hard theme. Well, today, however, congressional hearings have concluded, which might be a good excuse to wrap things up. Oh no, not so fast. Maybe perhaps it's time to forget about it for a bit. Disclosures are dead, according to Carly Neal, a retired U.S. Army officer with over 30 years of experience, who believes that whatever was due to be revealed would be completed by the end of October because the recent cycle of events dating back to 2017 has concluded. To me, this sounds like everything was predetermined, with only a small amount of information revealed to retain the public's attention for a certain time. Have you noticed that not just enthusiasts are discussing UFOs today? Oh no, these days everyone is attempting to board a train and immediately into discussion. I mean, podcast superstars are promoting each other by eternally discussing mysterious objects in the skies and elsewhere. From agencies rogues to anthropology professors, crypto moguls and Marxist feminists, wokists, conservatives, conspiracy aficionados, UFC champs and DMT veterans, Soviet turncoats, comedians, good and never heard of type, TikTok shuffle dance champs and fufu mango starschmucks moms. Everybody has an opinion today, regardless of if the hypothesis is von Neumann-like-ish or ancient Earth-like from the very beginning of this episode, articulated by Wilbur Smith. So, is it us from the past, from another timeline, not ETs? Is it them, and what the heck is SETI doing up to anyway? I mean, popular personalities such as Mike Tyson and Matthew McConaughey have opinions about life, the universe, and everything else. And you know what? That's a good thing. No more stigma. No more, oh, you're one of those? I think it's fantastic because if old TV standards were followed, some people would never had the opportunity to debate the subject. So, thanks to YouTube for that. I honestly don't know anybody. I don't know anybody who watches television anymore. Sure, there's a lot of junk on YouTube, but for about $10, you can skip the highly theatrical, pretentious television intros and get straight to the news you need. That is why the premium YT option is fantastic. And no, I'm not sponsored. I simply enjoy the service. There is no advertising. Simply tweak the algorithm till reach the Shaolin level. That's it. So, the modern period began in 2017 and is still going. A mega lightning that was almost 1,000 kilometers long thunderously announced the start of a year full of shocks. I'm not sure what would be a sign if that wasn't one. Academia, banks, and media, as we know, they're dying, which is a wonderful thing, but did 2017 change everything? That year, Luis Fonsi, not Luis Elizondo, was the most popular on YouTube, but gradually something else began to emerge in the daylight. The UFO chronology incorporates crucial events in the investigation, and some of the key points are communities like Y-Files have compiled a thorough timeline of UFO/UAP events dating back to 2025 with around 400 entries. Personally, when I see titles like CIA Time Travel Secret, I bypass them and head directly to the mecca of UAPs, George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell's Weaponized Show, which is still my favorite source of UFO information. In 2017, this is very important, the New York Times revealed the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP, which along with later on ARO, or All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, are two major government initiatives aimed at studying unidentified flying objects and other anomalous phenomena. Well, in the case of ARO, which is officially a government entity designed to investigate UAPs and protect whistleblowers, evidence and criticism indicate that it might function more as bureaucratic shield that marginalizes or dismisses credible whistleblower information. And this is something I believe from the very start, that it's a trap for those who naively believe that the government is concerned with the truth rather than putting a spin on each and every unexplained story out there. So ATIP, or the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Initiative, was a classified Pentagon initiative. The program, advocated by then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, collaborated with contractors Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies to compile extensive case studies and reports on UAPs, the most well-known of which was the 2004 USS Nimitz incident, in which pilots encountered an object with extraordinary flight capabilities. The office began in 2007, 10 years before the so-called modern UAP era, and it was shut down only in 2012. On the other side, ARO was established 10 years after ATIP's demise on July 15 2022. The ARO, led by the notoriously inefficient and almost obstructive Sean Kirkpatrick, took over and expanded the mission of the earlier UAP Phenomena Task Force, or UAPTF, which was established by Department of Defense and operated under the Office of Naval Intelligence under the command of David Norquist, the U.S. Deputy Secretary of Defense at the time, and Eric Davis, a highly experienced physicist specializing in astrophysics and advanced aerospace propulsion. As of today, we can say with certainty that Twitter will never be X and UFOs will never be UAPs, but it is only a formality. High weirdness will not cease to be what it is simply because you renamed it for fear of being ridiculed. Recent interest in UAPs or UFOs has been fueled by a number of interconnected reasons, including governmental transparency, scientific inquiry, cultural influences, and media coverage, according to the sources. It all happened as part of Trump's Rough Rider operation, which targeted Houthi military infrastructure. I'm only speculating that no such locations were listed in the terrorist backup UAP programs, assuming there are any. Sure, you can accuse me of mixing apples and oranges, and why am I putting Houthis in? Iran is like in the whole story, but the last time I heard about Iran and UFOs in the same sentence was during the 1976 Tehran UFO incident, which coincided with a Moroccan one. Okay, never mind. Again, I'm going down the rabbit hole and I'm gonna get lost. So never mind. This is for another time. But when we saw a U.S. Hellfire missile launched from a General Atomics Reaper drone intercepted by the UAP in Yemen, the puzzle got clearer. But it also reminded us how vulnerable we are in the face of future tyrants. No, I don't believe that Houthis are capable of such large-scale hacking, nor do I believe the next hacking target in Iran will be Stuxnet 2.0, which targets the Iranian reverse engineering program in secret locations such as Shahroud, Semnan, and Sanjarian. Never mind, that's for another time, as I have said. But guess who makes Hellfire missiles? It isn't that hard. It's Lockheed Martin, of course. So what if this is a honey trap for the public, as both General Atomics, Lockheed Martin, and whatever evil corp is out there involved want us to believe? Funny how you never hear about anything about UAPs from French Safran or German Rheinmetall, despite the fact that the latter partnered with Lockheed actually. The entire UAP phenomenon could be seen as partially intertwined with the American dream as a social and psychological construct, or, as Carl Jung pointed out, as archetypical symbols rising from the collective unconscious during times of crisis and strain. I'm so smart. Is it really? So what it is? Is it aliens or corporate distractions? If so, what are they distracting us from? So what message would be conveyed if it was intentional? A portrayal in the press, quotation marks. Look at us, victims of an alien technology, and there's nothing we can do about it. Oh, poor Lockheed Martin. Am I convinced? Again, what are they trying to distract us from? It's hard to believe, but over 2,000 sightings have been reported in 2025, along with many of them being lights of various types observed globally, particularly near military sites and in specific geographic clusters such as the U.S. Southeast, Middle East, and Northeastern Asia. The fact is, the year 2025 has seen some of the most credible and high-profile UFO/UAP claims in decades. To me, as someone who lived and breathed UFOs in the late 1970s and early 1980s, this is a dream come true. As I mentioned in episode 1, my passion with UFOs was so strong that my neighbor and I used to glue aluminum foil to a frisbee and throw it over not too busy island roads simply to see how the drivers reacted. We weren't totally convinced, but just like Mulder, we wanted to believe and convince everyone else, including inventing occurrences. Now imagine a kind neighbor driving down the village road when he notices a Carrera beige piece of plastic rushing in front of his windshield and some children running giggling to the bushes in delightful panic. Well, we took a lot of risks without realizing it. We also threw a frisbee in front of a postman on his moped, which would have been dangerous. I suppose His coolness rescued him. With his official blue shirt unbuttoned to his belly button and a huge golden chain, the entire essence of literal cool shielded him like an energy shield on a movie spaceship. Ha! So, hearings. Return to the hearings. Several key figures have played an important role in the recent development of events, including Jeff Nucitelli, a military police Air Force veteran who testified before the U.S. House Oversight Committee Task Force on the declassification of federal secrets, describing encounters with craft that outperformed all known technologies. He described many events at Vandenberg Air Force Base, which houses the U.S. National Missile Defense Project that occurred between 2003 and 2005. One of the things he mentioned at the opening of his testimony that very well describes the condition is, "I'm here today because the American people have both the right and responsibility to know the truth about UAP phenomena. That truth remains hidden, classified, and silenced by fear, retaliation, stigma, and confusion. Today, we are here to help break that silence." In my opinion, Nucitelli appears to be a fine guy, and if you want to read the contents of his testimony, you can find it in a PDF format on the House Oversight Committee website. Oh, how I wish another security dude, Mr. Woods, was present as well. Next one was Dylan Borland, and he was arguably the most affected based on his recent presentation while being interviewed by industry giants George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell. It appears that his suffering is only second to that of Bob Lazar, who is not only a major figure, but is also regarded as the father of UFO martyrs. The last time I saw someone terrified was when my own country's regime changed in the late 90s, yes. And I remember seeing similar expressions on the faces of students who had been assaulted by parapolice. You can't simulate the horror of surveillance and harassment. You can't. It's so genuine. And Dylan Borland, despite everything, including an attempt to kill him by cutting the brakes on his vehicle, is still there, testifying. His conclusion was, numerous individuals have come forward in various ways to reveal the truth of the UAP reality as patriots and defenders of our nation. Yet many feel discarded, isolated, hopeless, separated from the country they serve. Efforts to rectify the situation for all whistleblowers have been difficult and troubling. Well, I'm still waiting for the episode 3 at Weaponized Podcast, but let's see what Navy has to say. Alexandra Wiggins, an active U.S. Navy Senior Chief Petty Officer, is the first active duty Navy official to publicly testify regarding a UFO sighting. Alexandra spoke publicly for the first time about a 2023 UAP incident aboard USS Jackson, an Independence-class littoral combat ship named after Mississippi's capital. It is Austal's USA third Independence-class ship, having been launched in December 2013 and delivered in August 2015 before entering service in December of the same year. With its trimaran hull, high speed, agility, modular space, and shallow draft, the USS Jackson is designed for near-shore missions. It belongs to Littoral Combat Ship Squadron 1 and has undergone a rigorous shock test to assure its longevity. In addition to drills with the Royal Thai Navy, the ship has deployed with the United States 7th Fleet. So, an important UFO incident happened off the coast of Southern California on February 15, 2023, involving the USS Jackson. Navy Senior Chief Petty Officer Alexandra Wiggins reported seeing 4 tic-tac shaped like objects emerging from the ocean. One of the things emerged from the sea and linked with 3 others of a similar shape. These creatures moved with incredible coordination and near instantaneous acceleration, and they lacked exhaust or control surfaces as well as traditional propulsion patterns. They were detected by several sensors, including radar, and captured by the ship's Star Sapphire multispectral EO/IR system. Wiggins testified in public after seeing the objects from the Combat Information Center and Bridge Wing, emphasizing the significance of transparency and rigorous investigation of such incidents. During the hearings, Chief Wiggins testified that reporting without stigma, protection without retribution. Sailors need to know that reporting UAP encounters will not harm their careers. Congress can help by reinforcing witness protection and by directing the relevant office to maintain confidential, destigmatized channels for service members who step forward with data. We also have to mention Spielberg, whose role in the hearings was probably second to none. Joe Spielberger is a senior policy counsel at the Project on Government Oversight, or POGO for short. He advocates for the preservation of merit-based civil service, the promotion of government ethics and transparency, and the strengthening of whistleblower rights in Congress and the executive branch. He previously worked as public policy counsel for the ACLU of Maryland before joining POGO. Joe actively participates in public debates and lobbying campaigns about government ethics, whistleblower rights, and reforms. So now you know. And as always, I keep the best for the end, and that is who else but Mr. George Knapp. Probably the most descriptive sentence was from who else but George Knapp. He said, "You know, the public has been told over and over since the late 40s, there is nothing to worry about here. The mysterious craft seen by millions of people in the skies, in the oceans, over the land are not real. They're not a threat. The witnesses are wrong. They're crackpots. Don't believe it." And that changed for me. Also, while composing this, I kept wondering how Stephen Greer and Avi Loeb would fit into this tough marathon-style exam, but I also thought Alex Jones and David Icke might be a nice fit. Well, to further perplex people, they might provide a speech soon after the hearing. Speech! Joke aside, it appears that the first two shot themselves in the leg for a variety of reasons, including recent Atlas stupidity and boogables. My God, it appears that David is the only one profiting from his fringe hypothesis. But that's, again, and again, that's another story. Well, after the hearings, what can I say? We had the Jerry Springer show and opera many years ago. I never watched either. I always thought it was, I'm not going to say it. But I realized the social impact they had on the public and public opinion. Today, congressional hearings on UAPs are so popular that they drew nearly the same crowd. And it's not just because Congresswoman Luna is very curious and attractive, but also because it appears genuine. Well, just to remind you, it was thanks to congressional lawmakers Anna Paulina Luna and Tim Burkett who reintroduced the UAP Whistleblower Protection Act. And this measure seeks to legally protect federal employees who divulge information concerning UAP-related research financed by taxpayers. Anna Paulina Luna was a key figure in the recent hearings on unidentified anomalous phenomena, owing to her leadership as chair of the task force on the declassification of federal secrets, and her ongoing advocacy for transparency, government accountability, and whistleblower protection within the UAP investigation. Her significance arises from a variety of factors. Luna has repeatedly advocated for improved government transparency about UAPs, emphasizing the public's right to know what their government knows and does not know about these phenomena. She attacked the secrecy and lack of legislative supervision surrounding certain UAP-related initiatives, citing national security concerns and issues of public confidence. Her activities included requesting that material be declassified and assisting whistleblowers who claim first-hand knowledge of government cover-ups relating to UAP events. And unlike many colleagues, Luna has worked directly with military whistleblowers, including researching situations at Eglin Air Force Base where active-duty Air Force pilots claimed cover-ups of UAP activities. If we could travel back in time, it would be interesting to see what Maria Woods, a former U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant, could contribute in his crafted witness narration during these proceedings. Also, Luis Elizondo, former U.S. Army counterintelligence officer, was quite explicit and firm about what he failed to do. Luis is highly protective of things Mario would not mind discussing. Not that it's the same case in time and space. Not at all. Their stories are just different. However, Mario Woods was not invited to a hearing, and despite testifying under oath to the Pentagon's UAP program, ARROW, about his 1977 UFO encounter, Mario's testimony was not submitted on an official ARROW report form. Perhaps it was all about a confidentiality agreement that he did not agree with, but in this case, I'm only guessing, I'm only speculating, and let's also not forget Major David Grush, a former intelligence officer and officer in the U.S. Force and National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, who publicly claimed and testified before Congress about a reverse engineering program 2 years ago, in 2023, and Ryan Graves, a former F-18 Navy pilot who publicly disclosed regular sightings of UAPs while deployed off the East Coast between 2014 and 2015. Graves emphasized that these encounters were not isolated events, but rather part of a larger global pattern observed by many pilots, sailors, and officers. George Knapp, legendary investigative journalist and media giant, and my professional role model, along with attractive and daring Jeremy Corbell, built an institution with the Weaponized podcast. Over the last 2 years, there have been a number of pompous quasi-documentary interventions. In Canada, we probably didn't have as much news today since the so-called Canadian Summer of 1975, which only Chris Burtkowski and the RCMP have complete access to. Maybe we're oversaturated right now and there's some sort of alien fatigue going on. I'm not sure. But as always, time will tell. So, what happened next may literally happen tomorrow or in a decade. Who can foretell anything anyway? Still, I believe that the current geopolitical moves will largely dictate what we will about to hear. If it's true that these so-called sightings are distractions created by DoD, CIA, MIA, DARPA, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Skunk Works, or even Men in Black, then we have nothing to worry about and focus on what is really going on. Multiple eyewitness testimonies from U.S. military personnel in various congressional hearings recounted incidents of self-luminous objects and tic-tac-shaped UFO displaying extraordinary flight maneuvers. Is military and its industrial branch holding something back? Most likely. I would say nearly certainly, which is why I feel all of this commotion is a controlled narrative created by individuals who believe it is in their best interest not to reveal anything essential. So, what is that we are not seeing? Everything relating to this appears to be hidden in a plain sight, and my fatalistic perspective revolves around the idea that if a culture is messing around with their unbelievable trans-medium breakdance, fly skills, and other technological prowess, we will regard it as magic. If they are aliens and they are here, they are so advanced that we will only see what they wanted us to experience. And I am not speaking solely from my intuition. Rather, my perspective is affected by logic and a number of issues illuminated by the Fermi paradox and associated scientific reasoning. Advanced civilizations capable of interstellar travel and contact are likely to be much more advanced or not at all. Technological development, such as space travel, is extremely difficult and unusual, with humanity being just in the early stages of such capabilities, making it likely that any extraterrestrial society capable of visiting would have exceeded such restrictions by a significant margin. So what about Bigelow and Skinwalker Ranch then? Does that fit into the same box of mysteries, or is it completely unrelated and the only reason we're mentioning it because it fits into the same so-called unexplained category section? One can hypothesize on what it could be till the cows come home, depending on whether you're on or off Skinwalker Ranch. I believe it is a combination of circumstances related not only to shallow military-industrial prestige, geopolitics, rare earth minerals, and allegedly unknown elements, but also to what is about to be presented for us to see. Remember, PSYOPs are mostly based on true, undeniable facts, but then they're dismantled in front of our very eyes and mixed with the unexplained. The invisible hand from intelligence circles likely deflects attention from so-called alien abductions, for instance, because such phenomena involve complex secrecy, control, and disinformation dynamics, and they love every aspect of it. And you know how they compartmentalize everything just to be on a super safe side. Freaking control freaks. Well, if we can emotionally engage the people to stare catatonically at muscle orbs or tic-tacs on social media, how long can we keep them diverted from more concrete events? A government or corporation does not act out of goodwill. If they have to have hearings, it is either because their backs are against the wall or because they have a specific objective. Sure, call me cynical, but with the exception of few aficionados, I have a sneaking sense that the hearings were primarily a military-industrial complex counterintelligence hoax. Whatever is going on, I can't quit thinking that this can be a coincidence. We are literally 5 seconds away from World War III, also, but I feel it has already happened. And why is the UFO frenzy hitting its peak now? Are we suffering from confirmation bias, or have we only observed UAPs because they loiter around heavily guarded objects and locations? Will we notice anything out of sight? I mean, does anyone know if there are UFO sightings in Mongolia? There are few every now and then, such as one from Zafkana Imag village in 2020. The reality is that the countries with the largest UFO sightings per capita include the United States, Canada, and numerous Western countries, but huge populous countries such as China and India have extremely few sightings per capita. Is UFO spotting something truly American, a component of the American dream that we must not abandon if we are to keep the same degree of technological passion for reverse engineering? And again, to quote George Knapp, I do not believe the disclosures were ever going to happen. Furthermore, nowadays, all it takes to debunk something is to call it debunked. People don't question whether this is true, which is why YouTube is a different kind of risk than traditional electronic media, which, depending on a political leaning, tends to purposely misinform on whatever is on a platter. Everything from macaroni and cheese issues to macro issues like disclosure is politicized. Whatever it is, keep looking up. Don't forget to practice analytical behavior. Don't fall for it. Instead, remain watchful and observant, and most of all, stay selective. Bye-bye.